House, presented by Alliant Energy.
Alliant Energy, we're on for you.
Isn't this a gorgeous, peaceful Midwestern setting? You know, it's the perfect place to build a home like this. More and more people are building their brand new homes using an old-fashioned method, and of course I'm talking about log homes. Let's go in and find out more about this growing trend. It's just as beautiful inside as it is outside, isn't it? To tell us more today is Jeff Tegler from Cedar River Log Homes. And Jeff, why are we seeing more and more of these homes popping up?
I think it's because of the fast lifestyle we have, even here in the Midwest. People are going so fast-paced in their jobs and all week long. In the evening when they come home to their home or on weekends, they like the warmth and the coziness that the wood surroundings of a log home give you.
It really does seem to embrace you, and I love all the texture. Tell me about the texture choices around here.
Well, now more we're seeing light colors. When log homes became popular again in the 70s and 80s, a lot of them were too dark. So we're putting a lot of daylight in the homes with the windows. We're finishing the wood in its natural state, keeping it light like the pine in this home. The other things we're doing is using all the spaces, the volume. This area is an attic above the garage, and it'll become the homeowner's office.
Right, I love this feeling too. Is this a trend to have all of the open space?
Just about everybody wants a loft. They want to look from their great room up into the loft. They want their fireplaces to go up to the ceiling. And again, we can bring the daylight from up above and flood the downstairs with the daylight. You'd be surprised during the daytime there's very little artificial lighting needed.
I would guess. Now I noticed up here too there's a lot of things exposed. All the pipe work is exposed, the duct work, as well as the rafters.
Right. We don't have an attic in this house because we've used all the space. Too often that ductwork is either in the floor, which in this case we couldn't do because the wood ceiling in the dining room and kitchen below, we didn't want to have the ductwork there. So we put it close to the top of the house and we exposed it like you see sometimes in your loft apartments. In this case, in an attic, it would have to be covered with insulation so we don't lose the heat. Here the ductwork can radiate heat in the entire length of the duct as well as coming out the vent.
These logs that were used in the construction of this home are not the same logs our ancestors used, right?
No, they're not, and I've got a great example for you if you want to go downstairs with me.
Sure.
Our ancestors used logs or trees off the land, so whatever wood species they had to use. They did very little work on them, sometimes peeled the bark off and that was it, and they stacked the logs in a fashion similar to this. Then in between where the air gaps were, they used clay, straw, anything they could find off the land because cement wasn't even invented then. Today, we use a manufactured log, we call it, so we can do any shape you want. We tongue and groove it to stop air infiltration, and this is a fairly unique log that we use to build this house. It's called an engineer log. As you can see, it's 4 pieces of solid wood laminated together. You might notice that you see no cracks in the side walls, or checks as we call them in log home construction, and that's because of the strength of the engineered or laminated log. Still a solid wood, you still see the knot holes and all the part of the grain that you want to see in a log home.
Now Jeff, when we were talking earlier, I was really surprised to hear that log homes can be equally as energy efficient as a traditionally built home, despite the fact that they don't have any insulation at all.
Yes, they can. Let's show you this larger model over here. The mass of the wood, the density of the wood actually stores the inside conditioned air. We call it thermal mass. This particular log will absorb the inside air up to 2 or 3 inches, sometimes even to the center of the log, whether it's air conditioned or heated. A good example is a setback thermostat in the house. If you know you usually go to bed at 10 o'clock, set your thermostat to go down to 60 or 55 at 8 o'clock. Unless it's very cold outside, your furnace will probably not run all night because of the heat stored in this log.
So it's like passive solar. It collects that energy?
Very much so, except passive solar was a lot of glass on the south. The sun would come through and warm up hopefully a cement or tile floor. Logs absorb the heat and radiate the heat and store the heat much longer than a cement floor.
Wow. Let's talk a little bit about the construction. Can you give us a play-by-play on how you put one of these houses together?
Your floor system is much the same as a regular house, except we use a double thick perimeter joist in the floor system so that these lags that we put in every course can go down into that floor system, tying the house together. We run 2 beads of caulk on the bottom, and this log is actually lipped over the subfloor, again to help water and air infiltration. This one has the dovetailed corners, which is known to be the strongest corner, whether it's a drawer or a house. These corners can't come apart like this. They have to come off this log and that log. That's why our ancestors used no fasteners. It was the weight of the log holding it together because the corners can't come apart. Then we add interior caulking. We bolt the corners together. We put foam in here, again, to eliminate all air and water infiltration.
I see you have an electrical box right here, which brings up a good question. How do you deal with plumbing and electrical?
First of all, the logs are exterior walls only, and we don't put plumbing in an exterior wall in a conventional framed home. We also don't in a log home. The wiring, we lay out the electrical floor plan on the subfloor where all your outlets and switches go. We drill the subfloor into the basement, then we drill the bottom of the log up. Then we mark the next log in this course. We drill up till we get to the outlet hole or the switch. And we guarantee the electrician that if we build it, when he pushes the wire through here, it will end up in the basement. Therefore, his job is no harder than conventional frame.
That sounds good. Let's talk a little bit about cost before we go, because I'm sure you've piqued the interest of a lot of our viewers. How does this type of home compare to a traditionally built home?
Well, Megan, as you noticed when you're outside, this does not have vinyl siding on, and it has very few sheetrocked walls. That's the least expensive way to build a conventional frame home. If you build a conventional frame with, let's say, cedar siding, solid wood tongue and groove, solid pine on the inside, for instance, some stone, and some of the other amenities you see in this log home, the price will be virtually the same.
Good news. Thanks for sharing all this with
Thank you.
us, Jeff. You stay with us. We have more Powerhouse coming up.